So you find yourself in one of those repressive countries where the government sometimes switches off the internet, or you simply want to watch your favorite show on Netflix that's not available in your area. For today, let's discuss VPNs. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video, and for today we're going to be talking about VPNs. Now, what are they? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? How do they actually work? As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Lion Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out and just see what the team can do for you. By now, we've probably all seen or heard some ad talking about VPNs, people online, in the geek community. What are these things? Well, to put it simply, a VPN is an app or a piece of software that basically allows you to route your internet traffic through a number of different machines around the world, making it seem as if your device is in another part of the world. So if, for example, you find yourself in Namibia, you can use a VPN to make it look as if your phone, tablet, computer is in Australia. Now, when it comes to some of the reasons why people actually use these VPNs and why they've become popular, there are three areas that I'd like to touch on. The first one is just around anonymity, because by bouncing your internet traffic around the world or through different types of service, it makes it a little bit harder for you to be tracked around the internet. We've spoken in previous videos about this issue of privacy and people trying to get a hold of this issue, and using VPNs is one way that people are using to try and protect themselves when surfing the internet. Now, the second reason is around accessing region blocked content. That's basically where you find a way to access content that is geographically not available in your area. A simple example of this is with Netflix. If you've ever traveled around the world, you'll know that what appears on Netflix in different countries is not the same. This is usually because there's a cable provider, satellite provider, a broadcaster, or someone that has access to different rights in this region. So, for example, if you want to watch Friends, but in your part of the world there is a broadcaster that has exclusive rights to air Friends, that will likely not appear on Netflix. Now, in this part of the world, we have MultiChoice, which is the biggest satellite provider on the continent, and it also runs platforms like DSTV together with Showmax, and they have a lot of exclusive rights to shows and content from overseas and other parts of the world. And you'll see that if it's not on Netflix, it's usually available on their platforms exclusively. They hold those rights, so sometimes there's a conflict of rights. I really don't think it's fair, simply because I understand that the rights are there, they've negotiated, they've paid, but on the side of the consumer, there also seems to be a little bit of disadvantage, simply because if I pay the same amount for Netflix as someone in, let's say, Canada or in the UK, why should my access be limited, right? Why should the library of content be different, yet we're all paying for the same amount of money? And I feel like all of that goes into borders on the internet and all of these issues, because when the internet was created, people sort of touted this idea of a utopia, borderless utopia, but the way that things have gone right now is that there's a lot of this stuff that does happen where, depending on where you are in the world, is going to determine your experience of the internet. It's no longer that free world that had been envisioned before. Now, as unfair as I think all of this stuff can be to consumers, it is what it is, and there's a lot of laws and regulations that actually govern the distribution of all of this content. That said, the increased use of VPNs to access all of these things sort of shows that frustration that people do have to say, just because I'm in one part of the world, why can't I access the content that I thought I was paying for when I paid for this particular service? So you will probably continue to see that tension between consumers and online streaming services, for example. The second part of the region blocking discussion has to do with internet access in certain parts of the world. An example that's always given is China. I've been to China before, and I can speak firsthand that Western services, Google, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, WhatsApp, it's just not available if you are inside China. And what a lot of people tend to do is that if they do travel to China, some people use VPNs as a way to access some of the services that they used to accessing from outside China. Sticking with the theme of national policy, some governments actually find themselves switching off internet access for their general populations. This usually happens around times of tensions, protests, that type of thing. And in Africa, that has become a real big problem. I remember reading an interesting stat at one point to say that in Africa, there were more than 27 instances of internet shutdowns just in 2020 alone. There might have actually been more, but that's the number that I have on hand. And what some people end up doing is that in certain parts you have closed access to certain services. So let's say your messaging services and social media, right? And then people will use VPNs in those countries if something like that happens, so that they can then access their services. So that's one of the ways that people are using VPNs. And then in the last instance, VPNs actually have become quite widespread and wide used in this work from home trend, because you have people sitting at home trying to access sensitive data on enterprise systems. And what a lot of companies have done from a cybersecurity point of view is to implement VPNs that make it seem as if devices are actually sitting in the enterprise network on campus, in the office, or whatever it is, because it makes it a little bit harder for hackers to come in and find that vulnerability. If you think about it right now, that's actually one of the reasons why cybersecurity crimes have been on the rise, right? Because people are accessing this data from less secure locations, and that home Wi-Fi network that you have looks like an easy target for a hacker. So this is one of the ways in which corporates are using VPNs for their people to access the enterprise systems. I'm just going to do a quick demo of how a VPN actually works using this. It's an Android device. So if I open my phone as is right now and just head on over to Netflix, I think this is something that will be relatable for a lot of people. If you just go into here, you'll see that on the face of my Netflix, you'll see that we've got top 10 in South Africa, because I'm currently in South Africa right now. So if we then go to the VPN section and you go to, I use NordVPN, and then you go there, and then it's asking me to do that, right? Let's say I do a connection. You see how there were some recent connections. Let's say I try to do the connection to Canada. It just does like a quick connecting, and then you see over at the top it says that it's connected to Canada, right? And then I'm just gonna close this Netflix, and then we're gonna open it again. Come here, open the Netflix, let's do its thing, and then I go into the profile. So you see that on the face of it, it's still showing the South Africa, but if I just dive in deep, because I know that it takes a little bit of time to do its thing, under TV shows, now it's searching, and you see now it's showing these are the top 10 TV shows in Canada, which already shows that the phone thinks that it's sitting in Canada. If I just come out of this and I go here, you can just see all the different available countries when I head back into NordVPN, these are all the different countries where you could route your traffic through. Yeah, these are the available countries, but I think it just depends on where you are in the world, and that's basically how these VPNs work. Now, as with anything, VPNs do have their drawbacks, and there's two main ones that I want to highlight. The first one is that in some cases they just don't work. You saw that on my Samsung, I have a couple. I saw NordVPN, and you saw one called Siphon. There's a couple ExpressVPN, so many VPNs out there. And I can safely say that when I went to China, for example, none of the VPNs that I had was actually able to work. I could only access, certain things when I was at the hotel, because the arrangement there was different. It was a different network, it was a different connection. But in mainland China, those VPNs couldn't work, and it was actually quite disappointing, because a lot of these guys, that's what they sell themselves on. So I'd say if you're going to get a VPN, just check that it does what it says that it's going to do. And then the second bit is around connections, because if you think about the way that VPNs work, you're basically rerouting your traffic around the world. So let's say, for example, you were accessing Netflix in Botswana, right? You are accessing Botswana. Let's say that copy of whatever show you're watching is sitting in a data center in Joburg. So it means your data connection just has to travel from, let's say, Gaborone all the way to Joburg, and then back to your phone. That's it. But if you're now trying to access some episodes of, let's say, Friends that are not available in your part of the world, maybe your traffic now goes from Gaborone to Kampala, all the way to Nairobi, and then to Dublin, and then to New York City, then to Singapore, and then back to the UK, so that it brings that, and then the process has to bring itself back. So that, unless you have a really fast internet connection, you might have that danger of slower speeds, especially on the connection side. Now, in conclusion, the popularity of VPNs, I don't think, is happening by accident. For some of the reasons that we listed below, a lot of countries are finding themselves, being gagged, where internet is being shut down, or people are having restricted use of certain sites, services, etc. And then obviously the people that feel like they need to access what they're paying for when it comes to, let's say, streaming services. So all of this stuff is not happening by accident. And also at the same time, we highlighted the cybersecurity component in all of it. So the way I see it, these things are likely going to continue rising in popularity, but my advice is that if you are going to go and get yourself a VPN, download something that is paid. All right, and also download something that allows for multiple access on multiple devices, just so that you can protect your cluster of devices at the same time. There are a lot of free services out there, but at least with the paid one, there's some, I don't know what the word is, but at least you know that they're not trying to sell you on ads, or, because we've said it before, if something is free in this digital world, you are the product. So you'd rather find yourself with something that you're actually paying for. So that's been it for this video. Let me know in the comments, have you used a VPN? Do you have a VPN? Do you think they work? What has been your experience? Have you traveled to other parts of the world and made use of VPNs? You can let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
This is Muffs Too Much, and you're watching MobbJustice TV. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We're there on YouTube. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe.